exposing the criminality of the Israeli regime and its supporters here in Britain. Do you want to hear Tony Greenstein? Tony. We will see. Right, thank you, friends, comrades, and anyone else who I haven't included. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful demonstration. We are in the 6th month of incessant Israeli bombing of the Gaza Strip. The people of Gaza have no air force. They have no missiles defense system. And yet Sunak, Biden, Genocide Joe, and all the rest of them continue to supply Israel with the weapons of war, at the same time as wringing their hands about the death of now over 30,000 people. We are seeing for the first time ever in history a live recorded genocide as it's happening on our television screens and in the internet. And I have to say, for our rulers to continue to supply those weapons on the pretext, because it is a pretext, that it is about Hamas. When you bomb every university, every hospital, you shoot patients, you torture doctors, you do all the things that involve destruction of a civilization, then that is not about Hamas. That is about ethnic cleansing and nothing more. I don't know whether there are any police here or not today keeping watch over us, but I have to say, when Sunak tells you you should police the demonstrations, my response to that is, it's about time that you policed Rishi Sunak and the warmongers in the government. There is in this land a law, it's called the International Criminal Courts Act of 2001. And sections 52 and 53 make the commission of a war crime in this country or abroad by a British national or resident a crime. And it also makes being ancillary to such a war crime a crime. And it's about time that no one was immune from the law, including the residents of 10 Downing Street and the government offices, because we are ruled by war criminals at the moment. And those war criminals have the cheek and the audacity to accuse us of hate. I'm sure some of you have heard of George Orwell, because he wrote some important essays on the use of political language and newspeak. The idea that you say one thing when you mean another. You say black when you really mean white. They accuse us of hate. There is nothing hateful about this demonstration or the monster demonstrations in London and elsewhere. We are marching against war, against the destruction and the bombing and the death of civilians, including young children. There is nothing hateful about that. The hate mongers are the warmongers, the ones who supply the weapons. And I want to say something about the so-called Jewish state, Israel. When I listened to Dr. Strangelove, which is Yoav Gallant, the defense minister for Israel, at the outset of the war, he said, we are going to deprive these human animals of food, of water, of fuel. I have to say to those who claim, because Israel claims to inherit the memory of the 6 million Jews who died, I have to say, you don't inherit the memory of the Jews who died. You inherit the memory of those who killed the ones who died. That is the difference. The term human animals was used by Heinrich Himmler the head of the SS, which perpetrated the final solution, when in October the 4th, 1943, addressing his own senior SS generals, he described the Jews of Eastern Europe as human animals. And when he talks about starving the people of Gaza out, what he's doing is following the Nazi governor of Poland, Hans Frank, who talked of death by hunger. So I say to the Zionists, you inherit the mantle of the Nazis. You have nothing to do with the Jewish people historically. And if Einstein, Freud, Spinoza, and all the other great Jewish people like Marx were around today, they would turn in their grave. You are not a Jewish state, you are a satanic state. You are a state of the United States. And when Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman confesses to be worried about the rise of anti-Semitism and the rise of hate, coming from Braverman, someone who dreamed of sending refugees and asylum seekers to Rwanda, that is a bit rich. If any woman symbolised hate, it is Suella Braverman and all those who surround her. What they are doing is projecting their own particularly nasty makeups onto us, and we won't have it, because we know who are the hate mongers. We know who divides and rule. It is them, it is not us. Now I have one or two other things to say. This was not, of course, about October the 7th, but what they're doing about October the 7th, because when Sunak came rushing out of Downing Street after the victory of George Galloway, there was only one thing he could say about the situation in Gaza, and that was October the 7th, when 1,150 Israelis died, 400 of them soldiers, and half of them killed by their own troops. They're trying to weaponise all sorts of myths and fables, such that it was a rape orgy and so on. But they're not getting away with it. But Sunak did not have it in him, and no Tory politician or Starmer has it in them to say anything about the 30,000+ civilians who've died in Gaza. The racism of them shines out above all and anything else. As Ronnie said, Zionism is a form of racism because it's based on the idea that you colonise someone else's land and exclude that people from it. And I have to say, it's a great shame that Stand Up to Racism is including the most genocidal supporters of what is happening in Gaza today amongst the ranks of its supporters. If you stand up to racism, you cannot include racists in your ranks. You cannot march with racists. And my message to Stand Up to Racism and the Socialist Workers' Party is that you should put clear red water between you and Glasgow Friends of Israel and all the other Zionists that you have been marching with. They are not your friends, and of course they are not our friends. But let us also be clear, in Gaza, there is also a resistance to them, and there has been heavy casualties amongst the Israeli military who've gone in, including rebellions. Now, I'm not a supporter of Hamas politically, but what I do say is I give full support to any resistance to the Israeli military, wherever it comes from. We stand on the side of the oppressed and not the oppressor. So thank you very much for inviting me here, and we will continue to victory, whatever the price. Thank you.